Welcome, Spartans, to Podcast Evolved, part of Evolved, your home for Halo. I'm your host today, David, and joining me today is Lucas.
Hello, hello.
And the lovely Steve.
Howdy, hi.
Howdy, hi. So, Podcast Evolved, as you may know, part of the Evolved Network, we have a whole bunch of other stuff, but today we have come together because the console wars are over. We all won. There's a beautiful thing happening in a day or two. I'm going to get this episode out real quick. So, the most incredible thing. So Helldivers 2 is coming to Xbox. And on top of that, if that wasn't already exciting, and you should be excited about that, there's an incredible crossover between Halo and ODST. Like, the perfect marriage of video game and crossover content is happening. It's fucking nuts. Get excited, guys. So, if you're new to the show, welcome. Evolved hosts a whole variety of different kind of Halo themed shows. This is our main show, Podcast Evolved. We also have some of our older stuff out there. So Mission Debrief, Builds of Blocks, HCS Pro Talk, guys are still going strong. Shout out to them. Halo TV Plus, all about the TV show. That's long gone now at this stage, obviously. We have Halo Book Club, which trucks along, and Halo Headlines. So if you'd like to know about more of our show, go ahead, check out our website at haloevolve.co. You can also check us out on halopodcast.com, which is pretty cool. So if you're a fan of the show, please leave us and read us a review. We love all the feedback we get. Thank you so much. I also want to talk about our patrons. We have a Patreon. Guys, thank you so much for supporting us for so long. Much, much appreciated.
Yes, absolutely. Thank you guys for all you do.
Yeah. You're a good bunch of lads, I have to say. If you're not subscribed, our patrons get a bunch of exclusive rewards. They get early episodes, unique swag, access to our podcast soundtrack, our own podcast show called It Would Have Been Your Podcast that Ian runs. Also, you can learn everything you need to know over on patreon.com/HaloEvolved. We also have an Audible link if you would like to give us a little support over there. It's audibletrial.com/podcastevolved. You can get all of the Halo novels. Literally everything is over there, as well as everything else that Audible has access to. So like I said, it's audibletrial.com/podcastevolved. So thank you so much. So it's been a while since I recorded one, and I have to say thank you so much, Lucas, for putting together the last show with the guys. I know Steve was there and Rye was there. Guys, thank you so much for giving us an episode out of the blue. Much appreciated. I know you're doing more on the mod scene, so I'm going to ask you both, what have you been up to? And talk about your mods. What's going on?
Well, we did the modded episode, and we actually recorded probably what Steve was like an hour and a half of the,
Give or take, something like that.
So we did that, and we recorded that, and what people will notice is that we're going to go from 3 screens to 2 screens halfway through that recording, because I decided to record in 1440 instead of 1080, and I ran out of space on my PC, and it was like a 36 gig download file of recording, just like the OBS file. But we'll still have all the good, Steve and Rye still have all my sound, at least from their end, so it should be pretty streamless. You'll just see their POV instead of mine halfway through keys.
We'll get the kinks worked out. This was our first one doing it. We were all trying to figure out the logistics of getting our screens recorded, getting our audio recorded, making sure everything was going to be all copacetic, and then figuring out the size of the files and the Dropbox and all that. But as we get into the next couple, I'm sure we'll work all those kinks out.
It took us 10 minutes to just get the game started, because it was like, who doesn't have what downloaded? And I think it was Rye didn't have. Oh no, he launched the game in the regular Master Chief Collection and not the modded version. So we're all like, we all have ODST downloaded. We all have the mod downloaded. What is going on? And it was because Rye didn't hit a little button right when he launched the game.
That's just typical MCC woes, though. It seems like every time you get some people together to play and then you go to search for something, one or more players do not have the required content installed. And probably 50% of the time, it's the person who's most adamant that they have everything installed that's like, oh, wait, guys, I fucked up.
So other than that, things been good. I got some cats lately. I got 2 cats.
Congratulations.
Thank you. Yes, both of them are rescues. One of them has 3 legs. His name is, if anybody, the anime fans, his name is Aizawa. He's a black and white cat. I'm not too much of an anime fan, but my girlfriend is. So she is the one who picked that name. And then the other cat, she's gray and white. And her name is Tali from Mass Effect. So it's Tali Zora as her long name. So yeah, got some cats. So that's, I guess, what's new with me.
Yeah, I don't have any new pets per se, but I put a bird feeder with a camera in it outside my apartment earlier this year, and there's been a couple of families of birds. In particular, there's one cardinal who comes by all the time, and she's turning into my little buddy. She comes, hangs out, and chirps at me in the morning, waits for me to come out. So that's my quote unquote new friend.
That's pretty cool.
That's really cute. What about you, Aaron? What's new with you? Oh, David. I'm so sorry.
Okay. We all sound the same. We all sound the same, Lucas. It's fine. What's new with me other than my baby? It's not baby, so he's over 1 now at this stage. Don't really classify him a baby anymore. He started creche, so that's kind of been a huge deal because now myself and my wife we both work, so it's kind of freed us up a little bit to be able to kind of do that. So that's been kind of a huge change, and has made like some positives, as you can imagine, of getting some of your time back. So that's been
brother. You're gonna blink, and they're gonna be going to their first day of school, and you're gonna be wondering what happened. Where did the time go?
Oh, dude, I know, dude. It's just gone so fast. I mean, when we look back, it's just like it's insane of how much happens in a year. But just fuck, here we are. What is he? Not 18, quite 18 months. He's 16, 17 months old. Mad stuff. But funnily enough, strange random talk came into my head now. Sometimes he can get inconsolably upset at the nighttime, and he wakes up and we don't really know what's going on, and we just kind of pick him up. And one of the things I've learned to do is I bring him into my office where I work, and also behind me is like my Warhammer kind of prep table where I paint. So there's a lot of paintings on the walls and pictures on the walls and stuff, but I always have like a spread of the Halo Flashpoint models around me because I'm trying to paint them between paint and Warhammer. And funny enough, because I give him those ones because they're solid pieces, they won't break apart, and he loves playing with them. It just seems to calm him down, and it's so random that I just give him a bunch of elites and he just smashes them together. He calms down, he can go back to bed. I'm like, this is ridiculous that this works, but because it works, I just keep like Master Chief around. This is like one of the only few I have painted. I keep a couple of elites, and now the brutes are out, just so I can just have that calm yourself down, which is kind of crazy.
Start them early.
That's what I'm thinking too. Get them in early.
You got to play the ODST soundtrack over the baby monitor at night.
Oh,
the
that's
sweet
idea,
jazz.
man. Get some jazz. The sound of the rain on the street. That's pretty good. I'm sure there's still some good edits on YouTube that are like 8 hours long of just that on repeat. I'll give you one of those. So other than that, talking about Halo Flashpoint, I haven't played too much Halo other than the absolute excitement and buzz for me of getting Helldivers 2 ODST crossover. I went back, booted up MCC during the week, started a game of ODST, just been like, this is crazy, I love it, I can't wait. So I've just been like dicking around on the streets of Mombasa, really not really doing too much, just soaking in the vibes of the city. So I've been enjoying that. And then I also, recently enough, Halo Flashpoint, speaking of, announced their Feet First into Hell box set. So this is the third kind of wave, let's say, of releases for this game. So I've talked about it before. Halo Flashpoint is the tabletop war game, kind of skirmish level of Halo. It's really, really fun. I've played a handful of games, but I've loved every moment of it. I'm playing regular games with a friend of mine, or trying to get regular games with a friend of mine, just to kind of work through the content of the boxes, and then I'm going to do an episode about it, all about it. So that's going to be fun. That's a long prep, let's say. But the recent ODST one is just like, it's so cool. It's just like perfectly. The models look so good. The weapons are so good. They're bringing in flamethrower. There's bullfrogs and kind of jump packs that look awesome. It looks so much fun. You're getting models of Dare and Buck. It's just, fuck yeah, bring me in. I'm very, very excited for this. So I think that's coming in, I want to say September or October. Probably October. Some crazy timeline where these people are pumping out stuff. So it's October. Crazy that it's coming in October.
ODST.
The synergy of it is amazing too, because
so
like ODST is the next Flashpoint thing to come out, also right in line in the same time with the Helldivers thing, and then all the brands put their heads together and said it's ODST time for all the games.
Crazy, like a crazy thing, and I think we'll get to it probably a little bit later. But one of the devs in Arrowhead, who are the makers of it, Helldivers, have said the push for this didn't come from them; it came from Sony, like PlayStation, Sony. we're the instigators of putting this game on to Xbox, which is wild to me. I cannot believe that.
That's
you
wild.
think it would be the dev,
especially because Sony's usually like big on. They were like the hardest people that were like being against crossplay.
Yeah. I mean, it's mad to think that they began the conversations to push, and then, man, it must have been crazy. Who knows when this happened, but like, you'd imagine it was a pretty fast turnaround to be getting this game back, because this is going to be such a huge boost for this game. So sorry, let's get into it. That's what I've been doing. I've done a whole bunch of ODST stuff and get it ready for Flashpoint. I've played a bunch of Flashpoint games. We did a VIP game where I played Chief versus Aatrox and like some supporting models involved. That was a really fucking full game. Chief is a beast, absolute beast on the tabletop. Aatrox is crazy, as you can imagine. I won the game 3-2, which was kind of fun. But it was, we had some really cinematic moments. I said the game plays so well. So big hype up to that. Okay. Main topic. Thank you so much. So, guys, I know we talked off air to give you kind of a bit of background. I'm aware of Helldivers 2. I watched all the social media stuff over the last year. I've watched a bunch of kind of gameplay, just listening kind of various kind of YouTubers talk about it. So like, I know bits about it. The game itself, I'm very loose on what my knowledge of it is. So Steve, you've played a bit and you're more aware of the most recent stuff. And I know, Lucas, you've played a shit ton.
Yes.
Well, I've also played a shit ton. I just kind of, after that big initial push, I've had my breaks here and there, but I get on like every week or two at least. One of the buddies is like, yo, we're getting on Helldivers. Who wants in? It's like, all right, I'm not playing anything else. I'll join. I haven't been grinding particularly hard recently. That's obviously going to change very soon, but I've got my fair share of hours in.
Okay, that's pretty cool. Your perfect compliment to Lucas, who I know has played a ton at launch. Great.
Yes. I actually got COVID like the weekend it came out. So like I was off work the day it dropped, and I was like, well, I can't do anything else but sit in my room, so I'm just going to play Helldivers. And I think in like 4 days, I put in like 50 or 60 hours into the game, just like easily, because that's all I could do. So I was going to go stir crazy if I did anything else. And so yeah, then we played a ton.
You playing on PC?
Yeah, I play on PC.
Yeah.
So I played a ton after that, and then just usually how my group of friends plays games is like we all play a game together, and then we all kind of find a new game to play and switch over to that. And so we'll go back to games like Helldivers, but I think it was either like Hell Let Loose or another game that like we all kind of picked up, or like War Thunder that we all picked up and like started playing that. So I've kind of dropped off a little bit on the Helldivers, but like Steve said, I kind of come back every occasionally when a group of friends wants to play it.
That's awesome. Oh man, I can't wait to get into this.
It's a very easy game to put a nice chunk of hours into, and then like put down and go do something else if you don't want to get burned out on it, and then come back whenever and pick it right back up again.
It is so easy to pick back up, and like, because like it's all PvE. It's not really PvP. There's, you're not dealing with like sweaty people like on Call of Duty or something like that, some 12-year-old who has all the time in the world to play video games. And there's a difficulty rating. There's like, are we up to 12? I think it is
10 or 12.
There's like a difficulty rating. So if like you're at a higher difficulty and you're like, this is too like hardcore for me, I want to go and play games that are, a lot easier, you can scale it down and just play what you're most, you and your friends are most comfortable with. And it affects the it affects the universe just as much. Like, I guess if you want to play like the hardest setting, you might get more you might get more towards like the progress of Super Earth and like the galaxy, but in reality, like, is it really worth the stress? Like, so you could play it at your own pace.
That's really
cool. I think some of the higher difficulties they'll reward you with like more of the samples, which is one of the resources we'll end up talking about. There's different levels of rarity of the samples.
Yeah, I'm gonna ask you guys about that when we get down to the gameplay kind of stuff.
Then 10 is the max difficulty.
Okay, 10 is max. Okay, perfect. So let's set the stage for everybody. If you're coming in new, fresh like me. So there is a bit of a story to this kind of game, and it's kind of like a satirical kind of take on it. So think Starship Troopers, obviously a huge influence on this kind of game. So they have a little bit of blurb, so I'm going to read it out. So In 2184, after many years of peace, the enemies of Super Earth have emerged again to challenge the supremacy of our liberty. So Helldivers are Super Earth's peacekeeping force. They have fought valiantly against these enemies. So Helldivers have pushed back the scourge of the Tyranids, so they cannot be sued by Games Workshop. But they're called Tyranids. So a race of insect-like aliens. So these are the ones you see on all the marketing material. They face down the automatons, which I heard are like these kind of robot kind of dudes. I think people don't like them as much to play against. And then you have their bloodthirsty robots coded for murder and socialist violence. And then you have the Illuminate, which are a race of xenophobic aliens, like a powerful technology to destroy humanity. So that's kind of the premise, let's say, of this game. So it's a cooperative third-person shooter where you can find you and three squad mates, up to 3. So it's a group of 3, or is it 4?
Group of 4.
It's 4 total.
It's 4 total. Gotcha. Perfect. You are the boots of an elite class of soldiers. Your mission is to spread peace, liberty, and what they call managed democracy, which I find quite hilarious.
So do you know about what managed democracy, like why it's called managed democracy?
I do not, but you can tell me all about it now.
So managed democracy is how it's presented is when you vote, you don't vote based on like, oh, I want candidate A to be my president or leader, or candidate B. You ask, like, they answer like a series of questions, like, what do you think about this topic, or what do you think about this topic? And you put all your answers into the machine, and then the machine goes and takes your answers and does your voting for you. So it's like you're almost taking a quiz or a test to determine who you vote for. And everything, it's a dystopian future. So like if you're an enemy of Super Earth, if you say anything bad about managed democracy and their system, and all the propaganda behind it is as ridiculous as you think it is, just like Super Earth, or not like Super Earth, like Starship Troopers is.
The game really is a melting pot of like parodies of all the best of science fiction over the last 3 or 4 decades. I mean, anything from 1984 to Starship Troopers to Halo to Terminator. I mean, there's a little bit of everything in there.
So
that's crazy.
It's absolutely a cool world, and there is obviously there's a first game. And the first game, and I played a little bit of it, is a totally different, like, it's not this third-person shooter. It's one of those.
Yeah, it's a twin-stick shooter.
Yeah, it's a twin-stick shooter, like a Spartan Assault or something like that.
Yeah. Another thing to note, too, is Helldivers 2 isn't completely third-person. It does have a functionality for when you're aiming down the sights, it'll switch to first-person.
But I don't know anybody who does that.
I saw it in the trailer and I was like, what is this? That's interesting. Okay, so you aim down sights. If you hold it, it goes in the first.
You can aim down sights both in first and third person. I believe it's like a button prompt that'll let you switch between first and third while you're aimed down the sights. But like, I generally just keep it to first person down sights, third person when I'm running around.
You're a first, Steve. Because I just do third person 100%, and then like maybe with the sniper rifle or the anti-material rifle, I will go first person because I think it forces you into first person. But like I have almost never used first person. I might do it with the Halo stuff, but I have almost never used first person because everything's so up close and in your face that like I just kind of shoot and blast as I'm running away.
So then how does that work for you after they did the update where, all right, let me back up a little bit. Initially, it just had like weapons in the game and you get more weapons through the different war bonds as you progress through the game and what have you. But at a certain point, they updated the game so weapons could be customized with different upgrades, kind of think similar to Call of Duty where you get different sights and foregrips and what have you. So how does that work for you being only third person? Do you just not even utilize the different sights?
I mean, I look at their stats and look at what's cool, and then I just if it gives buffs, I'm gonna put it on. If it like nerfs me some way, I probably won't put it on. And I just, you still see the gun when you're shooting. I just don't use the reticle, the first person reticle, because usually I'm shooting things up close and I just don't have the time to like think about going into first person.
Interesting. But yeah, I mean, there definitely is like some visual difference when you get up first person and use those different sights. It gives you a little more reason to choose one over the other if you're not harping on stats. But those are the different ways to play. You could just ignore what it looks like and go for the buffs, or you could, I like the way that this site looks. I don't care if it makes my bullets spread a little bit too wide, whatever. This isn't like I need to worry about my KD kind of game.
No.
Oh, I'd say not. From what I know about this game, there's a lot of D in this game.
Absolutely.
Oh my God. Yeah.
Now, granted, you do have like a limited amount of respawns per mission. There are ways to mess with that amount. There's one particular perk that's like an increased budget for reinforcements, which allows you to call in fallen divers a little bit more than you would normally be able to, but you can eventually run out of lives.
Yeah, and then like once you get down to 0, it will like it's like every like 5 minutes or something like that. It like gives you another one. So like you'll be at a point where like, okay, there's only 3 of you alive. You're out of respawns. You got to wait for the timer to go down, and then you can get the 4th guy in. But like if you lose another dude, like you're still stuck waiting that few minutes, and so like it gets real intense if like you're just trying to survive and like not die and like try to stay away from bad guys so that you can get your buddies back in.
It's very much like Firefight with the shared life pool, and once it gets drained down and you're waiting to fill it back up.
That's cool.
The other cool thing that people is when you do give reinforcements, it's technically you. It just continues to be your character because every person has their own like destroyer, and you can name it. And so originally when the game released, they had the Arbiter of Truth was actually an option of to name your ship. So I think mine is the Arbiter of Truth. And so you have cryo tubes of like copies of yourself. So every time you drop in, it's just a copy of yourself getting shot down from like a cryo tube into
interesting.
But also not. Yeah. It's not a copy of yourself.
It's not? I always thought it was a copy.
No, it's a new one each time. Every time you die, that's it. That you is dead. The next one that comes out is a completely different person, even though it's the same armor. The Helldivers are treated as disposable, quote unquote, very similar to like the Spartan 3s, where you send them out there, and if they don't come back, whatever, we have more we can send out. That's not you respawning.
I always thought they were just clones of you because everyone's in like cryopods. So I was like, oh, yeah, they just cloned a bunch of you.
Nope, that's
damn. Learn
That's
something
dark.
new.
I like it. Yeah. So we jumped ahead a little bit there. I'm going to bring us back to some of the stats. So there's 2 versions of this game for sale: the standard and the Super Citizen Edition. Now I need to ask you guys. It comes with a whole bunch of like pre-order stuff or whatever, weapons and stuff and capes. That's all fine. There's 3 things I need to ask you about. It comes with Super Citizen status. What the hell is that? It comes with a stratagem hero ship game. What the hell is that? And then it has premium Warbond token, which I've looked into a little bit. So I need you guys to tell me. Apparently the premium part of this is new. They haven't existed before. So do you guys know what this shit is?
So the Super Citizen status, at the very least, is basically like a label on your nameplate. When you go into a squad of people and it says your name right underneath it in gold letters, it'll say Super Citizen. The stratagem hero ship game is like, if you notice, a huge part of this game is not so much the running and the shooting, it's the calling in your massive ordnance and on armaments and what have you out of space. And that whole aspect of gameplay is tied into, you hit a button and you pull out a tack pad on your wrist and you hit a sequence of different arrows, and each sequence is like paired to a specific type of stratagem. So the stratagem hero game is basically just a console that you walk up to, and it'll just throw a series of arrows at you that for you to hit within like a certain amount of time, like a mini game. And it's like, how many sequences can you get through in the given amount of time?
Fuck, okay.
So it's almost like a good way to practice for calling in your stratagems if you haven't memorized them, because like if you go into a fight with the 500 kilogram bomb stratagem, every match you go into, it's going to be the same button sequence, but there's other parts of the gameplay, like certain missions where you have to walk up to a terminal and it'll give you a sequence to hit, and those will be randomized all the time. So while you can like memorize, or even if you want to cheese it a little bit, macro your stratagem sequences, that's cool, but there's going to be times when you play the game where it's going to give you a random sequence, and you need to be able to hit that sequence within a short period of time because of all the chaos that's happening.
And that gets so stressful, especially, so it's not even just like at the objectives, it'll be at where you extract. And so if you're getting swarmed and when you get hit, it like stops the button pressing. So like you have to do it quick, and then you're stressed, and you're trying to hit the buttons, and you might mess it up, and so you're under like a time crunch to get them down. Some of them are like real short, like 4, but some of them be like 6 or 8 clicks, and like you have to make sure you hit them all before you either die or before I guess the timer runs out, which is a few seconds.
Actually, I would like to add a little bit of an aside in there. Well, I did say like your per stratagem sequences are going to be set every time. There are going to be circumstances where you're playing in a mission and you encounter like a stratagem scrambler, which might be like a little fortress or a base that you have to destroy that has like an antenna array, which literally scrambles your stratagems. So it'll be all like glitchy on the side of the screen when you hit the button to pull up your stratagem list. The sequences will keep changing and you have to hit that sequence before it randomly changes to the next one. Otherwise, you got to start all over again, or you destroy the scrambler and then it'll revert it all back to your standard sequences that you're used to.
They're like a mini game within the game for calling in extra awesome stuff.
Yeah,
essentially.
Absolutely. And I have like 2 or 3 of them memorized. It's usually the disposable rocket launcher and the rover. It's called the rover, laser rover, and it's a little robot that like sits on your backpack and comes out and shoots this like laser and like does a really good job at like mopping up like bad guys. But also the thing about Helldivers is friendly fire is on, so you can shoot your buddies, and the robot isn't gonna stop shooting a laser if your buddy is standing in between you and the aliens. So many times I have accidentally killed my friends because my little robot just cut them in half with its laser.
Yeah, any type of weaponry you have that will auto-target enemies will just aim and fire indiscriminately regardless of whether a friendly is in between it and your enemy.
The mortars, so there's like a mortar system that you can put, and they are notorious for getting friendly and yourself killed because they don't even care where you're standing. So like the Terminids, if they pop up because they come out of the ground. So if they pop up out of the ground right next to you and your mortar's next to like, 100 feet away, it's going to start mortaring where those aliens are. And now you're standing right next to it. And you're like, well, I'm about to get fucked by my own mortar system. It happens all the time. All the time.
Or the orbital laser is painful for that. You can call in an orbital laser and it's almost like a glassing beam. And say, for example, you've got an enemy 100 meters to your left and another one 100 meters to your right. And you call in that orbital laser, it will blast the one to your left and then cut directly over the shortest line between 2 points to the one on your right. And if you're standing in the middle, say goodbye.
Like the game, part of the game, like the fun about the game is just like how accidentally you kill your friends. Like that's where a lot of the laughs come from and a lot of the enjoyment. And then you're like, dude, what the hell? Like, why'd you kill me? It's like, bro, like it wasn't me. It was the rover. And he's like, stop putting the rover in. And it's like, you get into the back and forth chatter that people really like about like the banter that people love about playing video games with their friends.
That's pretty cool.
And then last is the Warbond token. So that's the game's credit system for the season passes, and
they're equivalent of battle passes, if you will.
But like Halo Infinite, they don't go away, and also like Halo Infinite, you can collect them. You can collect enough. You can not only collect enough from the battle pass, but you can collect them in game too. Like as you're playing, you can collect the tokens.
The premium credits you're talking about, the super credits.
Yeah, the super credits. You can collect those.
Yeah, I'm gonna ask about those later on because I'd heard of a Warbond that was in the back of my brain. I've never heard of super credits. So we'll get to that later.
So yeah, so they that you can get them in game and through the like the what are they? I can't even think of what they're called. The war bonds, and you can use those to unlock other war bonds. And so you can also pay money to get the war bonds if you don't want to waste or wait for all the work that it takes. But there are ways to do it without having to spend money.
Yeah, so realistically, the breakdown of it is like your average war bond is something like 1,000 super credits, And you can go into a match and you will find various bits of resources all over the map, such as samples and medals, and you can find super credits, and they'll be in small bundles. They're not going to give you like hundreds at a time. You might pick up 10 at a time, but you spend a few hours playing and all of a sudden you get back to your ship and it's like, man, I already earned 1,000 super credits. Let me go buy that next war bond. And then you're looking through the war bond, which has its own point system to buy things within it. And some of the options that you can buy from the war bond are additional super credits that you can then put towards your next war bond purchase.
Okay, and is that the currency within the war bond? Is that what a token is?
That's what the medals are for, or the tokens.
Okay,
yeah.
There's a bunch of different currencies, and they're all like very specific. Like the credits are used to buy, they're used in like the shop, and those are things you can use like monetary. The resources, what are they called, Steve? I'm drawing a blank here right now.
The samples?
The samples, yeah. There's like different levels of samples, and so when you get enough samples, you can upgrade your ship so it can, it can call in stratagems better. It gives you an extra airstrike. It gives you it makes your play a little easier. Speaking of
maybe
samples,
50% more health on like whatever turret you spawn. Basically, so when you start your game and you boot up, it will load you into your own destroyer ship. And then once you walk into it, there's a section off to the side that is a console that's just for upgrading all of your various services and buffs and what have you. So if you wanted to upgrade your turrets or shorten the cooldown time on certain stratagems, this is where you would go to do it. And it generally uses a combination of the samples and just regular credits. Like there's a regular credit system, not super credits, but like actual money. It'll use some there. And then you also use that like regular credits to upgrade your guns.
So I got to ask you
standard
a question.
Live game service things.
Yes. Steve, I have to ask you a very simple question. What do you call the super samples? What that thing that they always surround, what do you have a name for it?
The thing that the super samples surround, like
Correct.
When you find them in the map?
Correct.
I don't know, because the vast majority of the super sample farming that I did is in the mega cities that were added after the battle for Super Earth the first time around. And generally on all those super samples in the mega cities, they will spawn around a platform of 2 Helldiver statues together.
Oh, okay. So out in like the vast of the galaxy, it's usually find them on this like rock, and it's like a specific rock shape, and it's got like this like silver white sticky liquid that's like coming up, that's like it's off of it, and there's like 3 of them around it. And so me and my friends started calling it the cum rock because it looks like a rock that got came on. Like that's what it looks like. And so other people call it the dick rock. There's like a bunch of names for it, but we call it the cum rock. So we'll be playing, we're running around. I'm like, oh, the cum rock, it's over there. We gotta get the super samples. So that's a huge part of the game.
The rare samples are like a ball on a stick most of the time.
So that's a big thing in the game.
That's a big thing in the game.
It's a big thing in the game. Yeah, just the nicknames that you come up with for like either bad guys or their
the regular shorthand you come up with stuff.
Like the shorthanded stuff, and like even like you use names from like other games, because I've used like zerglings, like little zergling creatures that like run around, or like this the little tickers from like Gears of War. Like some of the characters look like the little tickers. So like I've used names from other video game series. The automatons, they have a mech that looks like a dreadnought. I swear to you, it looks like a Redemptor dreadnought,
class.
Or a ballistic dreadnought, and it just, you're like, oh, well, that's obviously, where that inspiration came from.
Yeah, that's cool.
I mean, the automatons also have this little 2-legged walker thing that is very clearly inspired by like the little walkers from Star Wars. Not the AT. I don't remember what this other one is called. Is what?
The TomTom from the Ice World, is it?
Maybe. I'm embarrassed to say I'm not that deep with Star Wars lore. I was never a particularly huge Star Wars person, but I know the reference very clearly. I've watched them. But yeah, like there's that. There's the basic automaton soldiers are like very, very clearly inspired by the T-800 Terminator.
Oh, that's cool.
Yeah, with their red eyes.
Yeah. I mean, just about every enemy in this game is very clearly inspired by something from another franchise. Okay. The Illuminate have these big walker things that are like the tripods from, was it the day after? Not Day After
War of the
War of the
Worlds.
Worlds.
Oh, War of the World. Okay, cool. This is a crazy game. Okay.
The Leviathan is this big flying ship that the Illuminate have, and it is very much like Avengers when they were fighting in New York, the big flying alien creatures. It's like those.
Yes. Yeah, that's cool. They're like living kind of ships, living.
Yeah. It's a whole mishmash of all the well-known sci-fi stuff.
Oh, that's so cool. That's cool. Okay, I'm gonna blast through some of these facts and then we'll get talking to the game.
Sure.
So, the game releases on August 26th. It has a bunch of release times. I meant to get GMT time and I didn't. So it's 1 a.m. PT, 4 a.m. ET, 9 a.m. BST, and 10 a.m. CES. So I hope you guys know CEST. I hope you guys know what those are. There's like Central, Eastern, Pacific, and BST. It's not British Standard Time, is it? Maybe it is. Okay, maybe I'm getting it 9 a.m. Cool. Okay, I think it is actually 9 a.m. Beautiful. Very important, guys. This is crossplay across all platforms: PS5, PC, Xbox. But it's also possible to like go console specific, so you can play it on the Xbox if that's what you want. There's no form of cross progression, which I think is kind of weird. I didn't think I knew that. So does that bother you guys in any way? Because I know you've put a lot of time in on PC. Are you guys okay to start from scratch on Xbox? Will you be starting from scratch on Xbox, or will you continue to play on PC? I suppose that's what I should have asked. You're probably not getting it on Xbox, right?
I'll probably keep playing it on PC because if I get it on Xbox, it's not on Game Pass. So like I have to pay another. It's not even a full $60 game or $60 game. I think it's only like $40. So
yeah, I think it's
not
around
a full
50
price.
odd euro. Yeah.
So
Yeah.
And no, I probably won't because I don't want to spend money on another game that I already have. And if I'm already going to play with my friends through Discord, it's not going to change anything.
Yeah, that makes total sense.
Yeah, I mean, I play on PC. I'm going to continue playing on PC. We don't have a PlayStation in the house as of right now. I mean, there's definitely a chance I'll end up buying it on Xbox anyway for like my wife or the kid to play on if we wanted to play together, or even if, if my wife's using my PC, I'll go in the other room. Maybe I'll dick around on Xbox anyway, just for the shits and giggles of it, even if I'm not going to get the progression. Maybe just the boys are playing and I want to screw around. It wouldn't hurt to have the other copy.
Cool. And I had known this, but I guess I kind of forgot about it in my brain. There was actually probably no need for multiple purchase because everybody's getting the content. So that's probably a big ask. So just really, the Helldivers and Halo crossover content is available across all platforms. So everybody on PS5 can run around and look like an ODST. No biggie. So the reason we're all here is the crossover, obviously. Not just the game coming to Xbox is amazing, but why we're on this podcast is because of the ODST crossover that we've been talking about all day. So this is a new type of war bond called a legendary war bond. It is packed with armor sets, equipment, cosmetics. So just to note, there's never been a legendary war bond before. So this will work slightly differently. I'm going to say some words that I didn't understand what they were. So it's going to require in-game progression. You guys probably understand when you get a warband, what that means to kind of unlock stuff, as well as the purchase of super credits to unlock all content. Now, this is kind of important because based on the conversation you guys have said it as well, there's a premium warband token that you get if you order the Super Citizen edition of the game. You cannot use that new currency for the legendary war bronze. So my understanding is now that if anyone who's coming in fresh with Xbox has to buy the game and then buy the legendary war bond. And if you're saying the war bonds are around 1,000 credits, and looking at it, 1,000 credits are about $9.
This one is going to be more.
I think it's going to be 1,500.
You think it's more? Okay.
It is. It's been
1,500.
announced.
Oh, it's 1,500. Yeah. Sorry. Yeah, I did know that. I have it written somewhere. So that's about maybe $15, approximately €15 if the point numbers are the same, which they generally are for these kind of games. So
but that's the if you need it right now price, because again, you can find the super credits just by playing the game. And I will stand on this hill right now and say, do not fret. There is absolutely going to be a huge part of the community willing to just bring groups of new players together and farm super credits so they can all jump right into the new content right away. This community is very good about that. There's always groups of people that are like, hey, we're farming super credits. We got another slot open. Someone come and join us. And then all of a sudden, a couple hours later, you're sitting on a few hundred super credits.
Oh, that reminds me. That's actually one thing we've missed talking about. Part of the game is with the stratagems. There's a like an SOS function. And what that does is you call out and you throw it down. And then so when a player or a group of players goes and looks at a world for like areas to drop in and do missions, there will be SOS beacons that are like, hey, these players are in trouble. You can jump in and save them. Yeah, so like the
Division had a mechanic like this. That's pretty cool.
Yeah, or like
it's your way of filling out an incomplete party. So if you go into a match with only 2 people or only 3 people and you have an empty slot, and at some point you decide you need that backup, you need that extra help, then you pull up your stratagem list and there will be one that says to call in an SOS beacon. And when you drop that in, it basically acts as like a matchmaking relay. So a singular person who doesn't have a party, if they're looking at the same planet that you're playing on, they'll be able to join your party via that SOS beacon.
That's cool.
And then you guys can keep playing after that if you really want to.
Yeah, it keeps the squad together. When you get back to the ship at the end of a mission, you can then decide, like, all right, I want to leave this squad and go back to my own ship, or I'm going to stay here so we can go to the next one.
Is there in-game chat?
Yeah.
Yeah,
there's game chat, there's text chat, there's emotes and stuff, too.
Sweet, okay. That's pretty cool. In the Xbox Wire, they did put in the world of Helldivers, ODST stands for Obedient Democracy Support Trooper, which I really liked that they came up with another name for that. So
this is actually not the first licensed collaboration with this game. They did do
a Killzone, right?
Yes, they did a Killzone collaboration, and when they did that, they also tweaked the lore of that content in order to make it fit canonically into the universe. You know, as its own thing. It's not like a direct, hey, this is Killzone stuff, but like the same way that Halo weapons have like Mizraya armory and what have you, what they'll end up doing is probably licensed. You know, they'll say some of the Halo stuff in here is from Mizraya manufacturing or something silly like that. So they kind of blend them together in order to make it feel right.
That's pretty cool. So on that note, if you've not seen the YouTube video or the Xbox Wire post, that has a lovely image of what is in the Legendary Warband. So you're getting 2 armor sets, 3 primary weapons, a sidearm, a bunch of patterns, I'll ask you guys about that in a sec, a armor passive, player banners, capes, and player title. So some of this is kind of obvious. So the 2 armor sets are amazing. That's why we're here. Oh my god, they look fucking so good. You have an A9 Helljumper, an A35 Recon, and a passive. So I like it. It's just like you said, Steve. They've tweaked the lore for these kind of armor sets to match the world. For example, the Helljumper suit is like debuted during the new Mombasa Armor Show, a sleek ensemble to turn heads and blow minds. Like, I love that. It's pretty cool. The way they've done it, and obviously the design is really good. There's a lot to be said about putting a cape on ODST armor. It looks really nice. I have to say I'm impressed with that. So those are obviously cosmetics, but I didn't realize that armors also have this a passive. So these are obviously abilities. So reading this one, it's applied to the armor sets, allows your Helljumper to make less noise when moving, and I'm gonna tie that into the pistol and the SMG, which are silenced. Apparently a silence mechanic is being introduced with these weapons and this passive, that you could a suppressor to support stealth gameplay, which is the first time in Helldivers 2. I remember hearing about people saying at some of the harder missions or even the automaton missions, trying to avoid combat to perform side missions on the maps, and how like that was even hard to do, but like they would try and do it. So it was kind of like obviously in the game already, but now they're actually like supporting that type of gameplay. So that sounds really fucking cool and really interesting. I didn't even think that was a real thing that they would come out to. So it says you're immune to leg injuries, which makes sense. So I'm going to ask you guys about, like, you can get injured in body parts and that does things. And then also increases the range of discovering points of interest by 30%, which sounds great. So just about the armors, guys, and the passives. What? This looks cool. What do you guys think?
All right, so let's focus on like just the armor itself first and foremost.
Yeah.
Generally the armor, it's broken into 2 categories and then some more categories below that. With the armor, you have a helmet, and then everything from the neck down is a set. So while we have on this image, we have a regular ODST set and then a recon theme set. You can mix and match the helmets. You can mix and match them with other armor you have in the game. And then as far as your actual armor from the neck down, because helmets don't really have abilities, it's just your main armor that does. There are three classes of like light armor, medium armor, and heavy armor, which all provide like different kinds of balance buffs. Like obviously your heavy armor, you're going to move a lot slower, have a little less sprinting stamina, but you're going to be able to take more damage. Your light armor is going to be the opposite of that. Your medium is going to be kind of in the middle. But it's also even a little more granular than that because there's like percentages to it. So you can have a medium armor that's a little bit more movement focused or a little bit more defense focused and find the bit that's right for you.
That's cool.
And then
did not know that. Okay.
Then looking at like the armor passive, the way they write it out as armor passive I feel like that might be misleading to new people. It might make you think like, oh, the armor itself just has this ability, but the way the icon is shown, you actually have a list of different passive abilities you can apply in your initial loadout when you start the game. Before you dive into a mission, like once you all go into your pods, you get a screen where it lets you pick your stratagems and your perks that you're going to start the mission with. So you get 4 stratagem slots and then a passive perk slot. And that's going to be where this feet first is going to go. It's going to go into that passive perk slot. Now, just to give you kind of an idea on what those passive perk slots do, one of them might be when you call down a resupply that has like ammo and health in it, you can have a gun turret attached to the top of it so it shoots enemies. Or you can have a passive that lets you start the mission with a few more health stims and grenades than you normally would. So it's like overall buffs aside from what your armor is going to grant you.
Yeah, and there's things like cool. Like there's ones for like stamina, like you run faster. Or you have more stamina. There's some where you don't get injured by you don't get injured by other things that injure you during the game. It won't like affect your limbs. And going into that, I guess, limbs, like, so if you get shot in the arm, you can break your legs, which means you run slower. Your aiming decreases if you get shot in the arms. Yeah. So, and then the only way to get rid of that is to use the stims, the stim packs. And so this looks like it makes it immune to leg injuries, which adds to the, feet first into hell sort of thing. And then lastly,
those leg injuries can be really detrimental to your gameplay too. So it is a nice little passive buff depending on what your gameplay style is, because there are a lot of things that can break your legs. Explosions have a lot of force in this game. You do not have to be particularly close to an explosion for it to send you flying through the air, and it has some really wild ragdoll physics as well. So you could get sent by a grenade flying like 50 feet and slam into the side of a rock and tumble down, and you've got broken legs and a broken arm from it, and now you're like crawling while you're trying to stim up so you can start running again.
Okay, so on that point, like, two questions. It says apply to both armor sets. So do you think this passive is locked to those armors, so you can't swap them out for another one?
So while I described like the heavy, light, medium armor stats, most sets of armor also have an additional passive that's tied specifically to that set of armor. So when you open up the game, you have like all the different war bonds. Generally, each war bond will have a set of armor or two, and then their individual passive buffs kind of fit within a theme for that war bond. And then they also have what's called the Superstore, which is like the equivalent of Halo Infinite's shop, where you can go buy armor, and each one will have passive abilities there. So you might look at a set that's very medic inclined, and it'll have a passive buff that maybe your stims are more effective, or you start the match with more stims on top of that other passive slot that you can pick when you're picking your loadout.
Oh, interesting. Okay, so you can kind of mix and match a bit.
Yes.
So to that, do you guys think this is a good passive based on how you know the game plays? Like what it's saying it does for you? Like
I definitely see a lot of value in it, especially when you start putting together different combinations of other things that are available.
I'm interested to see how the stealth mechanic works, because
that's what I want to ask too.
Stealth's never really been like, it's there sort of, but it's mostly a visual. It is a sound, but it is mostly like a visual thing. So like a lot of groups of bad guys will come. They'll come in groups, like in like, you know, they'll have like 10 or 12 dudes walking around. And so like the best way to not get caught and to get in prolonged firefights is to, on higher difficulties, is to just avoid them entirely. Like if you engage every single group of bad guys, then you're going to get bogged down really, really quickly. So them implementing like silenced weapons and, you know, things that make your movement less noisy might definitely make some of completing those higher difficulties without getting into too many engagements like more accessible. So I can definitely see that being a good passive perk for players.
I also imagine different enemy types are probably going to react a little bit differently. Like, I would have to think that Terminids are probably a lot more susceptible to stealth working because they're just bugs versus something like the Illuminate, which are an advanced alien race, and you might not be able to pull so much sneaky on them. But because this is the first time we're going to see stealth, we're kind of just playing it by ear until we get our hands on it.
Cool. Okay. And interesting that it's ODST that brings stealth mechanics into a game like this. That's just so cool. So the weapons, I will say this is a way more intensive amount of crossover than I thought we were getting for this. I thought it would just be a suit of armor and a cape or something, but the fact that there's so much coming with it and it's themed and just seems to sit really well. So we're getting a shotgun, we're getting the assault rifle, we have the SMG, and we're getting the M6 SOCOM pistol, which is a sidearm. So obviously you have a side pistol, you have like a secondary weapon in this game. Are they all pistols, or do you use them much, or is it all the primary weapons?
For the most part, your secondary weapon is going to be very pistol, sidekicky, maybe like a little Uzi type SMG. I think you could also bring like a dagger or something. There's a couple of melee type of weapons you can use as a secondary. Okay. While I mentioned earlier that they did recently implement the ability to upgrade and customize your weapons, your secondary weapon has no customization. The only upgrades are to your primary weapons. But I believe it was stated that the Halo weapons are not going to be getting upgrades. So you get that assault rifle, that SMG, that shotgun, they're just going to be as they are. Also, really important is this is the OG pump shotgun. This is not the Bulldog that we've had in Infinite. We're getting the OG shotgun back in a non-Halo game before we get it in Infinite.
Yeah, and what I did notice, it's 6 shots in the chamber, not 8. So that I was like, oh my god, okay, they're only doing 6. The assault rifle is getting a 32 round clip. It's not 60. And the SMG, I think, had 48. That's what I noticed. And I can't remember what it is in the game. But just so you're aware, like they've
couple things to note too as far as like ammunition as well. Well, they said they're not going to do upgrades now. There's a possibility we'll see it later. Maybe they'll just give us different magazine sizes at one point, but obviously like different sights and stuff might be a little more of a challenge without ruining the guns. This game, they've been very, very open with people being allowed to mod the game because a vast majority of mods are just like cosmetic stuff. So we've already seen a lot of these Halo weapons in the game insofar as like being modded in.
Oh, interesting. Okay.
Yeah, so there'll be like skin replacements for existing weapons in the game. So you could go on right now if you have PC and download a mod that replaces one of the automatic rifles with an assault rifle. And because it's based off of the model of the gun that has upgrades, you can go flip through the different sights and foregrips and stuff. And they kind of just plop right onto the top of the AR and they look goofy. And I don't see a way that they could implement it naturally that would make sense. So I get it. I would at least like to see different magazines because you can upgrade and change magazines in your weapon.
Does it have to be a visual upgrade? I mean, if you're just changing out a magazine to get a buff, or you're changing out a grip to get a buff, why does the skin have to change? It could just be a buff for it.
You're right. No, you're absolutely right. You don't necessarily need a buff. I mean, who knows if like the assault rifle screen is going to function when they implement it? We'll have to look at that because it's going to read out the ammo you have.
They said it has an ammo counter and built-in compass.
Okay. So one thing that's important to note with this game is when you start a match, you're given a set amount of magazines, at least until you go and pick up more somewhere when you re-up on ammo. If you don't empty your magazine and you reload, you lose the rest of that ammo in that magazine. It's a mag dump game like that. So you got to empty it out before you reload. Otherwise, you're throwing shots away. So that's why things like the different magazine mods can be helpful or hurtful, and why they're kind of important, because on some of the guns that have them, you might switch over to a drum mag, which will give you a ton more ammo in that mag, but then you'll carry much less of them into battle. You might only carry 4 instead of like 7, or you could get a really, really, really small magazine, and then you'll carry 9 of them instead of like 5 or 6, but you only have, so much less shots in it.
Yeah, but then there's also weapons there's plasma weapons that have heat sinks in them, and so you'll get 3 replacements of your heat sink. So as long as you don't overheat the gun, you won't have to reload. And so that's advantage
cool.
with those sorts of weapons is they have a pistol and a rifle that do that, where as long as you don't overheat it, you can just keep shooting away. And then when you do overheat it, you replace the heat sink, and then, okay, now I only have 2 heat sinks instead of 3. And so there's a bunch of types of weapons that are like that have that sort of a mechanic that just gives you more variety than just, this gun has this bullets, this gun is a shotgun, this gun, shoots 3-round bursts. They have more plasma and electric styled weapons.
One thing I did notice, though, is it doesn't seem that we're going to be getting any heavy weapon equivalent stratagems with this one. So while we've talked about our primary weapon and our sidearm, you can carry a heavy weapon on your back. Some heavy weapons require a backpack that goes with it to carry the ammunition. Some of them even require you carry a weapon on your back, and then one of your teammates has to carry the ammunition on their back.
Yeah.
It's a really interesting thing. I don't see anything coming here.
Well,
But
if we had the Spanker or something like that, that would have been awesome as a stratagem.
Spanker would have been cool. Yeah.
So one of the heavy weapons you can get is the Quasar Cannon, which is basically a laser cannon, and it's infinite ammo. It just has a cooldown time before you can fire it again. That would be wonderful to see an alternate
Spartan
version
laser?
of that as a Spartan laser. And of course we've talked about mods now. I'm sure you can imagine there is already a Spartan laser reskin for the Quasar Cannon. Anything you can think of, somebody's done it, and it just might need to be updated because the game got updated at some point and broke it. But most of the stuff that you can think of has been done, and they're really great seeds of ideas for more in the future if they keep expanding upon this.
Well, let's sit on that, because let's say this game launches, and let's say in a week or two's time, let's meet back and have when I get time with the game, hopefully I'll get time with the game. So maybe not a week. Let's just give it a while. Let's say I'll sit down, we'll put some time in. You guys are gonna put some time in. We'll do another episode about what we think is coming next. Can we get? Let's just call it Legendary Warbrand number 2 or something like that. What we want to see in it, because I think that'd be a great conversation to have.
Absolutely.
Okay. So weapons, you guys all thumbs up. I'm not sure how are SMGs and shotguns, assault rifles. They seem basic from some of the weapons I know are in this game. You guys, do you think they'd be worth using after past the novelty of them?
To try them. Yeah, after the novelty, I'm gonna have to try them and then see how they work. There's always a meta gun in the game. When the game first dropped, there was a shotgun that had flame rounds in it, and that was the meta shotgun. And then the plasma weapons came out, and some of those were the meta guns. And they just keep adding new guns and that are new meta guns.
Is there a lot already? Sorry, can I ask that?
No, there's a ton of guns already.
Okay.
There's bullpups, there's shotguns, there's more DMR style rifles. There's just all sorts of different options, and they all look cool and they all look different. And it's honestly, it's what you prefer. It's not like a PvP game where it's my AK shoots better than your AR, so that's the best weapon to use against other players. It's nah, whatever you do best with is the best gun for you, sort of a thing.
And it's also a matter of what faction you're going to fight, what kind of mission you're going to play.
Right.
It might warrant you bringing a different loadout in than you might normally bring.
Do you save loadouts in this game, or are you always making them on the fly when you're launching?
You have, when you get on your ship, as soon as you step out of the cryopod, basically to the right would be where your Stratagem Hero arcade game is. To your left is going to be where you upgrade your actual destroyer, which will buff all your stratagems and what have you. And then you walk through a hallway to the bridge. But while you're walking through that hallway is going to be your terminals where you can change your armor as well as change the weapons you have in your loadout. So you set your weapon loadout at that terminal, and then you go over and pick what mission you're going to play and then get in your pod, and that lets you pick your stratagems and buffs that are going to come in. So it's basically like two different loadout screens in tandem.
I'm looking at them now. Patterns. These to me just look like color swaps. Am I right? They have a Jeep, they have an exosuit that could be a Mantis. They have a shuttle skin, and obviously the Hell pod. To me, they just look like they're called mean greens. It looks like an army standard green color. I think this might be the weakest part of this whole drop for me.
Yeah.
It's like, okay, your theme here of the pattern, I imagine these are interchangeable, just color swaps, right?
Yeah, they're just ODST.
Yeah,
it looks like
they're just skins.
It looks like this is like the UNSC sort of like green color, the mean green color. But there's there's like different skins for all the different vehicles. And so like the first two on the patterns, the Rover and the little Walker, those are used in game. The one at the very end is the Hell pod that you drop in through, but that third one is when you call in for an extraction. It is what picks you up, and you have to like wait 2 minutes for it's called a Pelican. Funny enough,
it's not called a Pelican, is it?
Yeah,
it's
also
known
as
the Pelican.
Eagle.
Yeah, or the Eagle. So it waits a certain amount of time, and then it comes and picks you up, and then you have to get into it, and then you like extract. But so yeah, that gives.
There
it a
are other
color
times
scheme.
when you'll see them too.
Yeah, they'll drop off like troops, or they'll drop off your Walker suit or your Rover.
Some of your stratagems are also utilized by the Eagle, where like your super destroyer might be the orbital laser, but there's also Eagle airstrikes you can call in where it'll, shoot across the screen and then drop a napalm strike or something.
Okay, that's cool.
But the skins for the vehicles and whatnot is a somewhat new feature. I think it was just earlier this year, kind of along with the weapon upgrades. So we haven't had a ton of them yet. So like, while it does kind of seem a little bit underwhelming as part of this, there's also not a ton of options to be able to customize those things. Like you have to be able to buy the exosuit, and you have to be able to buy the upgrade that lets you call in the FRV, use it as a stratagem before you can even customize it. And then when you go to the customization screen, there's like some basic camos that are available for it, but most of the other skins are going to be locked behind various war bonds.
Okay, we're saying skins, but these are just color swaps, right? You're not actually changing what it physically looks like. You're just changing the color.
Nah, it's just a color swap.
Okay, that's grand. Okay, that's just so I'm getting.
But yeah, that exosuit very much is like a Mantis, and there are a couple of variations of it, but you get in it and you start walking around and you're like, oh yeah, this is Mantis, baby.
Yeah, okay, that's cool. Very, very cool. And okay, now that's all the kind of information. You guys touched upon all the wallbar stuff, which is great. Because I had put some information just to say, obviously the warband you get by gradually playing. That's what the guys are saying you unlock as you play through to unlock the stratagems to actually customize different bits and pieces. They don't expire, which is great. So obviously, Xbox or new players coming in now are going to have the last year's worth of potential warbands to access. So there's going to be a ton of content in there. Legendary Warbonds are a new brand, that's it. So you can lock for 1,500 credits, so like I said, about $15, about €15, I'm hoping, which can be found in game or purchased separately. So be aware, Legendary Warbonds cannot be unlocked with the new premium Warbond tokens.
So the token, specifically the token, is a it's just a token that allows you to unlock a warbond. So it's not like that's all it is. It's just like hey, you got a token, now you can pick a warbond to unlock. And so it looks like the legendary ones are just require you to either grind for it or pay for it. But I am definitely interested to see how the servers do in this game when all the Xbox players drop, because one of the I guess downfalls of this game was when it first dropped and it got so popular. It got more popular than anybody thought it would. You would sit in a queue for some people sat in a queue for hours to just get into a lobby so they could play the game. And like people would like go to work and they would like start the queue and they'd leave work. And then they would get in the game while they were at work, and the game didn't kick you out. So people would just sit on their super destroyers, and when they got home from work, they could get on and play. So like it'd be like 300,000. Oh man, there was like 700,000 people trying to get into the game at one time at certain points, and just it was so difficult at certain points. And obviously that died down because they increased the server count, and then they also like less people started playing. But like there was like the first 2 months it was so hectic because these guys didn't expect this game to get this popular, and it just blew up overnight. And they have definitely had a little bit of a turbulent start compared to some other games that have launched well like this.
Yeah, I don't foresee the servers being too much of a problem. I have to imagine at this point, if they were able to, secure a licensing deal for an IP like Halo, they've probably got some money to put into their servers, especially considering like this war bond is going to be a little bit more expensive than previous ones. I think one thing we should also go through with the war bonds real quick is just general progression of them, because they don't necessarily function the same as battle passes. When you get a war bond, what you'll get is multiple pages. Like most of them have been like 3 pages. I don't know if this one will be longer or not, but you'll buy a war bond. It'll have 3 pages and you only have access to the content on the first page, but you can pick and choose any piece on that page to unlock in whatever order you see fit, based off of how much currency you have to buy them. If you have a cap of 250 medals to spend on there at any given time is like the most you can hold, but you might buy a cape for 15 and a passive ability for like 40 or something, and then a weapon is going to be 70, and maybe a set of armor is going to be 100, and on the corner of the screen it'll tell you spend X amount of more points to unlock the next page. So you don't even have to buy everything on that page to unlock the next page. It's almost kind of sort of like how MCC started to do things where you could go in and pick and choose how you wanted to spend your points within any given season. You didn't have to go, okay, I get this one next, and then the next level gives me this one. You could kind of skip around a bit.
Okay. Man, this is great. I'm really happy you guys came and did this for me.
I know we're throwing a lot of information, and like it's a lot of information, but everything is so straightforward. Like every token has like a use for it. Every item is like very straightforward. The game in general is pretty easy to pick up, and a lot of people I've seen on like social media are like, oh, we got to help the Xbox players like get in, like, they're going to be green. And it's like, yeah, well, these Xbox players have been playing games like Gears of War and Halo for like the last 20 plus years. So like, while there is a learning curve, like for me and all of my friends, it was just, learning how to fight the bad guys more or less. Like it's still a generic third person shooter with a lot of the same controls and a lot of the same movements that you'd expect in a shooter of this quality. So it's the learning curve is more of like, okay, I know what these bugs do. I don't want to get close to these bugs, or like I know how these robots work. I know how to kill these bots. Like, so we'll get to see how players progress in the future.
Yeah, every enemy is going to have their strengths and weaknesses. Certain enemies are really hard to take down unless you hit that one particular weak spot on it. But the designs do a good job of telling you where the weak spots are. Like with the automatons, the vast majority of them, their weak spots have like red glowy vents or something like that, which would be, an easy access point to their internal power. You shoot something in there and they blow up way quicker than if you were dumping rounds just into their metal chest piece. So it's going to be a learning curve as far as your enemies and your weapons, which weapon to use against which enemy, and then also the implementation of stratagems. There's a big hurdle if you're not familiar with that type of gameplay to going from, oh, I'm just running around shooting stuff to, let me pull out my smartphone that's strapped to my wrist and tap a couple of arrows, and all of a sudden there's a 500 kilogram bomb falling from the sky.
Okay, so then on that now kind of note, a lot of people coming in green, myself included. There's 1,000,001 currencies that all have a great use, the way you guys have described. They have a purpose for each one. So in terms of the character progression, and you're going through and you're grinding currencies to unlock weapons, and then you're able to customize those weapons, it sounds like, with different abilities and stuff. Is the player character leveling up in any way? Do you have a level? Is there a level system, or are your base stats changing?
It doesn't. You don't have stats. Your level doesn't really do much other than like maybe indicate how much you've played the game.
Okay.
If you're gonna jump into a mission with random people and you see there's a dude who's a level 12 and a dude who's a level 80, you know, okay, we might have to babysit the level 12 a little bit, but the level 80 guy is fine. If we see him running off somewhere by himself, he probably found some samples and he's just gonna grab them and come back and he can survive just fine.
Okay.
So I will say
it's your gear based. Sorry.
Yeah, it's very gear based in how much you upgrade. And so how the game works is like you'll find things like the samples you find in the game. And so the thing with the samples is you have to extract with those samples. Like if you die, all your samples will drop and somebody can go pick them up. But like you have to pick those up and collect those and get on the ship with those samples, and then you can upgrade things with that. And then after each mission, you'll get, credits. You get credits to upgrade. That's how you get more stratagem, is you use credits. And then
that's how you'll buy like a foregrip for your gun or whatever. You're not going to waste samples or super credits or medals on a magazine for your gun. That's going to be like basic, coin money, pocket change, basically.
And then the medals you get from doing challenges. There's like daily challenges, like weekly challenges, and then there's like grand total challenges, like the whole community will have to get. Like the daily ones, it might give you 5 or 10, but then like the grand ones, that's like, okay, you have to kill this many terminids in like a day, and so you'll go, and if the whole community wins that, they'll win 75, 100 credits, or sometimes they'll be like, okay, we're going to drop this stratagem for you guys if you can win this. So like they give incentives, like big incentives for you to do the community objectives. And especially like when Super Earth is in danger, like they put so much emphasis on like, this is your home planet, like you have to defend it, just like the ODSTs and the Spartans, and when the Covenant invaded Earth, like this is the gem of humanity that you need to protect.
Let's pull the scope back a little bit and like talk about how you're going to interact with like the planets and what have you. So when you go to start a mission, you walk up to like a holographic like galaxy display, maybe kind of sort of something you would see in No Man's Sky or Starfield when you're navigating from planet to planet. So you'll open it up and you'll see a map of the entire galaxy, and Super Earth is at the very center of it, and then it's like a circular maze-like pattern that comes outward from it, that's broken up into different quadrants and sectors, and all these quadrants have different planets in them. And they'll have like a colored wedge that comes approaching in, which is basically your indicator of like, oh, this purple wedge that's coming in from the south through these sectors is the Illuminate attacking all of these planets. And we have to beat them on like the front line. So you can't go fight like a planet all the way at the outer ring if they've made their way in too close to Super Earth. You have to go to that nearest sector, and then it'll say, okay, but there's 2 planets in this sector and they're both being attacked, and they have progress bars on them that'll say this one is like 90% defended from the enemy and this one's 50% defended by the enemy, and we have to get it to 100% by this set amount of time, otherwise we lose that ground, and then they move into the next closest sector to Super Earth.
Okay, so like the missions available to you are like living and change over time based on the community's input into various areas and successes.
There is a single real person who is in control of it at all times. His name is Joel, and he is literally the dungeon master of the game. So he monitors all of the community's progress and how they're doing on certain fronts, and he adjusts things on the back end to respond to how players are dealing with it.
That's so fucking cool.
And like, it's not even like Europe and the United States. It's like the big in this game. Like it's such a global game, especially if it's like, we have to defend Super Earth. All the players in the US and Europe, around normal times, we'll play the game. But at like 2, 3 in the morning, the 3 of us are probably asleep. But the people like the Japanese, the Chinese, the Koreans, like those guys are all grinding really hard. And so like we had a thing where like we didn't think we were gonna defend like a city on Super Earth, and the Chinese guys came through and like fucking just absolutely destroyed the rest of the challenge for us. Like, it's such a global community.
And what'll happen too is the way that the DM plays with how everything reacts is a lot of times there's a narrative to go with it. There might be a goal that's set for the community to beat that it is completely intended that the community will not beat this goal because there's a narrative planned for what's going to happen next. For that first battle of Super Earth, the places to fight on Super Earth, the places you could pick to drop in to start a mission were basically 7 major super cities. And they would fall one by one by one over the course of that first battle of Super Earth, no matter how hard the community fought, because there was a narrative in the back end that was like, oh, we're going to push everybody to the last couple of cities, and it's going to come down to the end before we give everybody a chance to really decide if they save it or not. So it got down to like the last 3 cities, or the last 4 cities, and one of them was the equivalent of America, and one of them was the equivalent of China. It's like there's one major city for certain major countries or continents, and the Americans and all the people in like Eastern and Mid and Pacific time zones were fighting hard for the American super city. And then when the middle of the night came around and everybody had to start going to sleep and had to start going to work the next day, that's when the Chinese community came out in full force to do what they could to try and save Super America. And then when it fell, everybody shifted their focus to like Super China.
That's insane.
It's
presumably
really
they
good.
must have at some point some kind of narrative of, well, if Super Earth falls, the game's over, right? So like, what happens next?
Yeah. So in the first game, if Super Earth fell, like you would fall, and then they kind of like would do like a hard reset of the whole map where like all the factions start off on like the fringes and they would start invading. But we haven't had that yet, so we haven't lost yet, so no one knows what's going to happen when we lose because we've had enough player base to push back the enemies of Super Earth. So that is my thought. What will happen is it'll like hard reset and like we'll start over from the beginning of like another campaign, but I guess we'll see when that day comes.
If that day comes, who knows? Because like another thing, you're mentioning all the incentives and what have you. So like when we were in that first battle for Super Earth, aside from the progress bars for each of the super cities telling us, how much we were doing to defend it or not, there were also like overall global challenges where it's like defend this point for a certain amount of time, defend the city for a certain amount of hours, or kill enough of this certain enemy type. And Super Earth's resources, the galactic resources or whatever, are working on something in the background where it's like, oh, you guys managed to defeat enough of this enemy type during this time period while defending Super Earth. Well, the factory that works on the super destroyers just kicked into high gear while you managed to hold them all off. And now you could call in twice as many Eagle airstrikes while these missions are running than you normally would be able to.
There's a lot. There's a lot to this. There's a lot to this game. And like, there's a lot of propaganda, and there's a lot of like just the community getting into like the idea of like Super Earth and democracy, and like it's just a very fun game to just sit down and just play with your friends for a few hours, and then just like, you come out like feeling like you did something fucking awesome.
There's a lot of knocking on the fourth wall, too. People get into the game and they start role-playing really hard, screaming about managed democracy and liberty and what have you. And then you get outside the game and there's people doing all sorts of weird things for interacting with the game. Like me personally, I have the Stream Deck that actually, Lucas, you hooked me up with. I still love it. I have one page of it that is literally just stratagem inputs and the arrow keys and everything. And sometimes I'll slap it on my wrist and I'll be hitting the arrows that way instead of pressing it on my controller.
That's insane. I love that. That's cool as fuck, though. Okay. Yeah. I don't know if I have anything else to add. There probably is other questions. But I can't
There's some little Easter eggy stuff. Like for example, one of the capes in this Halo Warbond is actually an homage to the We Are ODST trailer commercial that came out when Halo 3 ODST was releasing.
Yeah, and I recognize that because that trailer is now in my YouTube algorithm like for the last week or so. So I imagine I wonder are a lot of people looking at it and going back to it.
They definitely are. You could tell from a month before this was about to happen, there was a very, very intentional and decisive push for it because all of the Halo social media was leaning very heavily into Halo ODST stuff. You know, they like to do their faction Friday and whatnot and their occasional spotlight on a track or something like that. And this whole last month has been a mix of nods at ODST things. So like they're doing a lot to really make you feel for it as it's happening. You know, the synergy of the advertising and the hyping up of it's worked out really well. The way that it was announced, the crossover actually was just a bog standard trailer for Helldivers coming to Xbox. And then it wasn't until after the, coming to Xbox on this date screen that it just cut to the little, 10 seconds of the ODST music.
But that's it, that tease. Like I watched that trailer and then got to the end and it was like, I watched it because at 1 minute and 17 seconds, the music starts and you get, holy shit, it's ODST. And it's a new Mombasa scene and you see a pod dropping in and that's kind of it. And you're kind of like, oh fuck, this is amazing. And then that's where like obviously the theories went wild, internet fucking blew up. And then they had the launch trailer, which is so fucking good, of the content. I can't wait.
They also had another teaser that they did shortly after that first trailer dropped. There was an audio clip that was posted on the official Helldivers Discord where...
Oh, I saw you guys talking about this, yeah.
Yeah, it was... We know now it's the Virgil superintendent bleeps, but it was reversed.
That's right.
And echoed and sped up a whole bunch. And they put that clip up, and within like 5 minutes, we were foaming at the bit. I heard that clip, and I told one of my buddies, I said, you play that clip in reverse. I guarantee you that's the superintendent clip. And sure enough, it was. And then 10 minutes after that, the reversed clip that we made in our Discord started circulating all over social media.
Nice.
It's That's wild impressive. How like people like heard that sound and like the amount of denial that I saw on like the social medias, and it's like, no, it's why would they're just screwing with us. And it's like, why would they have to spend the money to like buy the rights to use the music? So like, why would they spend the money to use the rights to use the music and then do all these little hints to not give us ODST? Like, I feel like that would cause the Helldiver community to like rage, like hardcore, like boycott the game if like they promised something or teased something and then just said, nah, like we're not going to do it. Like, screw you guys. Like,
no, it was a very intentional and concentrated effort, and it worked flawlessly.
Yeah, really, really well done. So I think that's kind of it, guys. I think we'll leave it there. This is a long enough L show, one of the longest we've done in a while. So again, shout out Lucas, Steve. Thank you so much for joining me today, answering my questions and filling my brain full of wonderful Helldiver knowledge.
Yeah, no, we can circle back to this again after we've gotten it in our hands.
Oh yeah, man, I can't wait to get hands on. I think the 26th is
Tuesday. It's 2 days.
Perfect.
Day and a half at this point.
Make sure the game's updated.
Yeah, it's Monday for me now, so I'm very happy. So Tuesday, one day away, one more sleep. Very, very happy with this. So everybody, thank you so much for joining us. Like I mentioned at the top of the show, you can find all of our episodes on our website, haloevolve.com. You can search for unique podcast feeds. We've got kind of breakouts in there. It's very, very good. You want to listen to everything in one feed, just follow the Halo Podcast Evolve on your favorite podcast service. Please leave us a review, like I said. Once again, special shout out to our patrons. Thank you so much for your support. You guys are amazing. Patreon.com/Halo Podcast Evolve to learn more. And finally, if you want to leave us a voicemail, we have a phone-like technology, really Halo's related, whatever you want to talk to us about. It's 205 Evolved. That's 205-386-5833. And with that, I've been your host today, David. And until next time, Evolved.
Evolved.